V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now I know my ABCs. Next time, won't you sing with me? Hey!
I actually forgot the last part of that little rhyme.
That's the first time I've done that. Like,
not the alphabet part, not the alphabet part. Okay, so
oh
we're clear.
God, Bren. What happens after T? It's the first time I sang that song in like years, bro. I was like, did Matt just tell me to sing my ABCs, bro? Like, God, I just turned 8 again.
Welcome back once again to the NJIT Highland. You guys are already laughing, mate. The Highlander Racing Podcast, Episode 2. Woo!
Wonderful. Glad to be here, bro.
Nice. Yeah, it really sounds like you're glad to be here.
Of course it is. Yeah, I've had a long day.
So once again, Brandon and I are in the WJTB radio studio on the NJIT campus. Big shout out to those guys. They've been super accommodating. They found us extra time in the schedule to get us in during this very hectic last week of classes. Mm-hmm. But classes are done now, right? Today was the last day of class. Let's go.
Which is great, yeah.
Massive shout out to NJIT, the Newark College of Engineering, our engineering school here on campus, and all of the Highlander Racing guys who help us put this on and put this together. Big shout out to Shawn. Shawn, he's the man. Yeah, you see him in the webcam, but he's operating the mirrorless camera that you get the rest of the footage in. How do we sound today? Sounds good. We have an extra guest today, so Shawn doesn't have a microphone, sadly. So, Brandon, would you care to give us a little introduction of our guys?
So on the couch here, you're ergonomically right.
Yep, indeed.
Okay,
there you go.
If I mess it up, it'd be probably really embarrassing. So
no, I guess that's all good.
Devin's on drivetrain.
And Jevin's on drivetrain.
Yo, for real?
under Joel, who was the drivetrain lead who we had on last episode.
Yeah.
He's not on today, unfortunately. But we should. I think he wants to come back on at some point, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. He's hard at work today at one of his 3 jobs while being full-time student.
Right. Actually, yeah. I was wondering why he wasn't here today.
Yeah, his internship is he works on Wednesdays. He also doesn't come to our Wednesday meetings. So
that makes sense.
On the couch in the white T-shirt, would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do on Baja.
Oh, sure. Yeah, my name's Jeremy. I'm the ergonomics lead, like Brandon said. So this is my first year actually as lead. Like last season, I was here as part of Chassis. One of the few guys that were there. And as an ergo lead, like I was a little nervous coming in, obviously, but like I think I've been doing a good job so far, and I have a great team that's helping me out too as well. There's been a lot of research, a lot of ideas being flown around, and so far, what we're doing is basically a custom C4. We're trying to do some nice, interesting stuff with it, and I hope it all works out because it's probably the first time I think this team does that, where we build our own seat, I believe. Last year was bought seats, so I hope it all works out. We're trying to do something new.
So I think one of the things that people would like to hear from you is, as far as Baja SAE goes, ergonomics feels like one of the smaller teams. Like electrical is really small as it is, but not everybody has their own electrical sub-team. That's actually something that we do that's a little bit different than other schools.
Don't have electrical. That's
right.
I didn't
but
realize
ergonomics is one that is defined by the SAE. That's why electrical doesn't put on a design presentation.
Right. Okay.
So
makes sense.
how are you making the most out of ergonomics? What are your plans? What have you been working on?
All right, so that's definitely true from the beginning. Like when I came in with as being ergo lead, one of the things that kind of got me a little bit. The first thing that was hard, I guess, was trying to figure out how to quantify it because drivetrain, suspension, like all that stuff, even electrical, you have like numbers, you have values that are easier to sort of like think around of and what you're gonna do with it.
Absolutely.
But with ergonomics, is like I had to kind of take a step back first and just see like, well, kind of how you do this, and plenty of research online as well. So one of them was. I can talk plenty about this, right? Like, I could ramble on a bit.
Yeah, talk for a couple minutes.
Yeah, so, like...
this is introductions. They know us.
Yeah, exactly. So, there's,
Too well.
There's basically something called, like, anthropometric data, which is basically just, like, the average measurements of the human body. And, like, I remember I pulled up stuff from, like, NASA and the U.S. Army where, like, they basically, like, measure their astronauts, like, hand dimensions, head dimensions, like, the size of your ear, like, size of your foot. Stuff like that.
The size of your ear?
Size of your ear, literally, like they have size of ears. Like for helmet design, that kind of helps. Sometimes, like for example, earmuffs. Like literally, when someone designs this, probably their headset, they had to have an average dimension for like your ear, like to like who they're gonna like who's their product designed for.
Really interesting.
Yeah. Actually, it's pretty interesting. It's like so there's a lot of research on that and like what the real world does like for that we don't think about too much, like the sizing of stuff. Yeah. So that's the main thing. And then like one of the cool things we got like going so far probably is trying to make some sort of pressure mapping system so that we can kind of see the amount of like pressure that someone is distributing upon like the seat pan, the backrest. And the interesting thing about that actually is that even a lot of pressure, like a red zone, for example, is not bad as long as it's like evenly distributed. So it's kind of like looking for hot spots, looking for points that like are a little bit more sharp than others in terms of like the pressure upwards. So that's
It
one
would be
main
like
thing there.
red in like a simulation and
Yeah,
your CAD
basically. Yeah,
programs.
like we have a couple things going there. I have one of my guys researching on it. He's probably gonna do actually maybe for ENGR like proposal actually,
Okay.
because then that probably would help too for like next semester.
Yeah.
But yeah, essentially like yeah, it's like red would be like good, an even distribution of red, blue, you know, all the colors that you know of in a pressure mapping system. Other than that, like a lot of research into like resins, fiberglass, stuff like that, because it's actually surprisingly complicated in a way because there's like a bunch of layers that you have to like work with, and you have to make a mold. And when you make a mold, you have to make sure that you're thinking of like how it's gonna like how you're gonna place the sheet of fiberglass on it, how it's gonna come off, which way it's gonna like be designed over. So it's kind of just a lot of stuff to think ahead of time before you do it, because then it's like it can get pretty messy and there's a lot of stuff that could go wrong when you do it. But like I think I've done a good amount of research. My team's also done a pretty good amount of research. They've been working pretty hard actually, like, you know, getting a lot of information for me to make sure that we're thinking ahead of it all, so that we don't like, you know, waste time, waste money, all that stuff.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, anything else maybe for ergonomics? That's kind of generally what I usually kind of talk about whenever someone asks me. And it's kind of the basis of it all, like generally the big idea
No,
so
that
far.
sounds
Yeah.
like it. I
Yeah.
mean, we've all seen the presentation that
Yeah.
ergonomics has put on at
Oh, right,
a
yeah,
couple of our
exactly.
meetings.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool, actually. Like, they have some stuff to do.
Stuff
Yeah,
that's
which
on the back
is
burner, really.
It's surprising me.
It
Yeah,
feels
like I
like
felt
it
kind of
anyways,
like
though,
initially
right?
when Sam told me to be ergo lead, I was like,
Like what? You think that
Oh.
low of me, right?
I was like,
I would have felt that. I would have felt the same.
But I was
way.
like, at first I was like, damn, what am I gonna do?
Absolutely.
Like, I wasn't sure what to do with it exactly when I first like joined, like over the summer and as an ergo lead. I was like, crap, what am I gonna do? But you know, like again, that research actually kind of helped. There's like stuff like it's involved there, just very subtle stuff.
yeah,
Like it's
dude,
not like
that's
kind
awesome.
of loud. So I was like, yeah, I could work with this. I could do something about it.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I
it
was like,
goes
yeah,
overlooked, but
Yeah.
you know, some of the most important things do, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, like this entire thing is like several different teams working together to make it happen. So it's like, you know, we all need each other, and like I'm just hope to do my part well, and then we all hopefully, you know, join together at the end pretty well. You know, then
I love
make
it.
a good car. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the other gentleman we have on the couch, Devin.
My name is Devin Zabrowski. I'm on drivetrain. I work with the front differential / power transfer unit. What we did now is we ordered a front differential. We have it.
Right.
And it's just going to save a lot of money, a lot of time. We are not going to make one. You could order the gears, but the housing for itself is just way too complicated. And right now we're in the process of ordering the case for it to put in with the front CV cups and get the whole front end together, and then we're going to attach it to the drive shaft. So it's kind of going on right now. We're going to 3D scan all the parts, put it all together in SolidWorks so we can put in the entire assembly.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah.
So-
I was working with Dan of the Makerspace. They just got a brand new 3D scanner that was like $20,000, and it was like,
right.
all right, well, let's put it to use. But
What a
it didn't
flex,
go very well because it's
$20,000.
the material on it, the coating on it is just way too shiny.
Reflective, yeah.
It's so reflective. So they're waiting on like this sublimation spray that when you spray it on, it evaporates after 4 hours. So it has a matte finish, and then you scan it, put the
Gotcha.
little dots on it, scan it, and then so you go all together.
Oh wow, that
That's
sounds really cool.
actually, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So compared to last season, you mentioned something about saving money. What was the situation like last season?
Last season they actually manufactured a front power transfer unit. It wasn't really, it was a differential, but they keep calling it the power transfer unit.
I said the same thing.
Yeah, so, and everyone keeps calling it that, but yeah, they put it all together. They made the gear, they had the gears made, they had the case made, and it wound up costing too much. I don't know the dollar amount, but it was way too much.
Yeah.
And it was all locked. So as the rear wheel is spinning and then the drive shaft spinning, the front wheels are also spinning. They're all spinning at the same time. When you're going to make a turn, your front wheels are spinning at the same time. You're going to start understeering and plowing forward.
Right.
So we ordered the limited slip so that way when you do make a turn, the wheels can compensate for each other and you won't understeer, you won't plow forward. You actually make your turn. Steering's going to be a lot easier for ergo too.
See, honestly, this is the cool thing. I guess this goes into the whole like we all work together.
Yeah.
And some stuff. All this
Yeah.
kind of crosses over. Like, you know, that if you do something there, it'll help me out. I could do something to help you out. So it's like,
Yeah.
there's mesh points on the whole car.
So you guys make nice,
yeah.
comfortable steering wheel,
Exactly.
and the steering's gonna be so
We'll
much
be able
easier
to
for the
turn
driver.
and-
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
That's why there's an entire system integration
Yeah.
presentation when we go to competition. You guys know that, right?
Yeah.
No, yeah, exactly.
Everything gets molded into one.
Yeah, I mean, we on brakes, we've been working with ergonomics on our pedals, right?
Yep. Shout out
That's always a
Christian.
good time.
Yeah, exactly.
Shout out to
Yeah.
Christian on the brakes team.
Yeah.
Not that anybody knows who he is. Maybe he'll have to come
He
on.
does some good work though. He does some good work. It's been nice.
Oh
It's-
yeah, especially for a first year. I'm really glad.
Oh yeah, he put some work in that.
Because
Like,
he's I'm sure he's never done CAD before, and if he
Never,
has,
though,
I
like,
doubt
is he a
SolidWorks.
freshman?
questions a bunch
He's a
of
first
it,
year, yeah.
Oh,
yeah, I had no idea
okay.
about that either, honestly.
Yeah,
well, I mean, now I do, obviously. Well,
Right, right.
before coming into this podcast,
Yeah.
but you know, when I first met him, I had no idea he was a first year too.
I
Well, not
Yeah.
two,
I
'cause-
appreciate the fact that he doesn't mind
you know what I
asking
mean.
questions. Like he was always like asking me, asking you, like, and I appreciate that. Like it's
Yeah,
a good amount
yeah.
of. Didn't feel nervous about asking questions, and he got
That's-
some good stuff going.
That's
That's
Yeah.
what you need from
Absolutely.
newbies.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Literally. Like it's
I,
worse if you're
I
just in the
don't
back not
mind
asking
teaching you,
questions.
but
Yeah.
you got to let me know what
Yeah,
you
of
need to
course.
learn,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know what you need. So,
Yeah.
Brandon,
Yes,
you're kind of going to be hosting today because I did not have a lot of time to read up on our talking points.
of course.
So, what's up? What's up first?
All right, so we're gonna be talking about NASCAR. Yeah.
Oh.
Devin can do a much better Southern accent than me. All right, so
Let him do it. Everyone quiet. Let him do it.
so
Well, we're making a left turn, and we're making a left turn again.
Okay, all right. That
That's funny, it's
describes
actually,
NASCAR.
so I don't know how into NASCAR we all are in this room, but I know last week you asked me about number 22.
Oh yeah, Joey Logano.
Yes,
Woo.
sir. Okay, real
I had
quick.
an ex-girlfriend really into it. That's all.
So did you watch this season at all?
This season, I watched a couple of races, but
Right.
not even the entire thing.
Okay, yeah, you probably know that he's the champion this
Yeah.
year.
Oh, absolutely. Come on, I saw the
which-
big 22, the
Yeah, of
trophy.
course.
I love it. I
A
love
two-time
it.
champion too, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
he's
yeah.
2018 champion as well.
Yep. Yep. That was when I was dating her. So I was very aware.
Yeah, but okay, real quick, I have to go on this little rant. I wasn't too happy about Joe Logano being champion this year because
Whoa.
of the
Shots
four
fired.
of the four drivers that were competing for the championship this year, Joey Logano was probably the middest. All right, he deserved it.
Whoa.
Who were the
deserved
other?
it.
Who were the others?
Ross Chastain, Christopher Bell, last driver I can't remember.
Christopher Bell. It sounds familiar. I've heard the name. But
He's like super young. At least he looks super young.
Yeah.
He looks like a child.
Yeah, well, I think he is.
That the
He's
child
young,
drive the
especially
car?
compared to
when can you
Logano.
get your license?
Yeah.
16? 17?
Bro, honestly,
He's got
probably.
it.
Yeah,
He doesn't even have a driver's license. It's private property. He doesn't need one.
Yeah, no, actually, that reminds me of like how young like these NASCAR drivers start because like
Oh, absolutely.
like the bottom tier like going into NASCAR, the Arkham Menard series, like some of these drivers are like 14 years old. Like they literally can't even
For
like
real?
Yeah.
They can't even drive on legal roads, but they can drive on a
They
NASCAR.
drive like
Yeah,
200
no,
miles
and-
an hour on
and-
the track. That's crazy.
they need to get like certain permission to drive on certain tracks.
Yeah.
And like some tracks they don't even let them drive like at all, like on super speedways and that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're like driving these like 500 horsepower like older cup cars.
Right.
Because how the Arkham Menard series works is like they kind of get like hand-me-down cup cars from like a few years ago, like from a generation or two ago, and then they let their like younger kids drive around in that. But yeah, no, like these NASCAR drivers are like super young. But yeah, no, kind of get into NASCAR. So this is kind of how I got into NASCAR. Going into like motorsport for the first time, like the first motorsport that I was into like was Formula One, which I feel like is like the natural progression for a lot of people, seeing as like how F1 is like the
Definitely
top.
for most.
Yeah, it's like the top motorsport worldwide. So naturally, like a lot of people are gonna go to that first, but that's what happened to me. I got into Formula One like 2017. First race I watched was the 2017 Azerbaijan Grand Prix. One thing I remember from that was Valtteri Bottas and Lance Stroll like fucking drag racing to the finish line. That was one of the most amazing things I've ever watched. Dude. That was so fun. And from that point onward, I knew Formula One. This is where it's at.
This is
where
where
Yeah.
it's at.
he
right?
And that
This is
kinda-
it. He's like, this is the place to be.
And that's exactly what I thought. And that kind of that kind of hurt me in a way, because then like for the next couple of years I was like, Formula One and like open wheel racing and like circuit racing, this is the only kind of motorsport that's actually worth watching. NASCAR's just turning left. It's boring. It's just literally just turning left for
I
like
hear
4
that
hours.
all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. And when I would say that I'm into racing, to people who like never watch motorsport, they're like, "Oh, you love NASCAR, don't you?" I was like, "No, I hate. I actually like.
He's
I
like,
took that as
"Actually,
offense.
no."
Yeah, actually,
no.
because I felt like for the longest time I felt like I was above NASCAR, but
Just like ergonomics.
Hey, yo. It'd be like that.
But more recently, in 2021, I was like, you know what? I've been dookying on NASCAR for the longest time. I think it's actually worth watching a race. See what it's all about.
Yeah.
He's like, it's actually worth watching. He's like,
yeah.
based on my expert opinion.
It might be worth.
it might be worth
Let me
watching.
try it
Opinion.
on. Like
Yeah.
just an hour.
Let's just see what happens. I'll
Right.
I'll put a race on. I'll probably watch it for a little bit. To go back to whatever I was doing before. Because I had nothing else going on that day. I was like, all right, NASCAR's on. We'll see what this is about. The first race I watched was the I think it was like Charlotte Motor Speedway back in May or March.
Okay.
So it was it was one of the spring races.
Fun race.
Yeah. And I think that was won by Kyle Larson. So coming into the race, I was like, I'll watch this for like an hour. I ended up watching the whole thing. It was so much fun.
It sucked you in, didn't you? It was
yeah,
like,
it sucked me in.
Like,
Literally,
surprising.
all it took was like one race, and I was already on it, dude. And from that point forward, I tried to make it a point to like watch as many NASCAR races as I could. I kind of fell off towards like the end of the season because like a bunch of other series were like finishing up, and like NASCAR. Was
absolutely.
NASCAR wasn't really a priority at that point. I was just getting into it, But I did go to Pocono Raceway that year, 2021, literally like 2 months after I got into NASCAR. Like that's how into it I got, which was also very fun. Like
I feel like going to a race is a lot more like involved, and you're like, oh my god, this is going on right in front of me. It's so loud, it's crazy. But then like watching on TV, it's still interesting, and it's really cool to see how they maneuver through the cars and everything. When you're there, I've never been to one. I've always wanted to go to one. It's crazy.
Yeah,
Pocono
the scale of the speed and like everything going is like just way different.
Crazy.
There,
When you're watching
I've never been to one, so I can't say how it is. But
Yeah.
I've been to stuff where like you see it on TV and then you see it.
Well, when they
like,
pass
different
by
experience.
the
Exactly,
stands you're on, it's just like,
Like,
yeah,
you can
exactly.
feel it in your
You can
chest.
feel it. You get smacked
oh
by
yeah.
it.
Right, yeah,
It's
because
crazy.
the first year, or when I went to Pocono back in 2021, I was sitting like the second to front most row.
Oh,
I was like right next to the track.
Really?
Yeah, it was
That's
right at
sweet.
it was right at a turn 3/4. There's like kind of a joke with Pocono Raceway, like whether or not it's like 3 turns or 4 turns. But yeah, coming out of the last turn, like that's where I was sitting. And yeah, you could like feel it in your chest, like whenever the cars would come by, going like 200 something miles an hour, or not to actually no, it's probably
It's like 180
Yeah,
ish.
like out of the corner anyway.
Oh, so about
Yeah, out of the
Like,
out of the
up
corner,
to
it's
it.
like
Well,
120.
yeah.
round it up, round up.
Yeah, around it, just go straight to
We're
300
engineers,
miles
you
an hour.
round up,
Yeah.
They're pretty much doing like 600 miles an hour. Like they're breaking
They're at
Mach
least doing Mach
Yeah.
1.
right.
Basically, bro. Yeah.
But yeah. Oh, I also watched. I on top of it being my first like major motorsport to go to, that I ever went to. I also saw my first crash like live in person.
Ooh.
It was like right in front of me too. I think it was with Cole Custer. I can't remember like who exactly was involved, but
Did he
it
take
was
flight?
no, he didn't.
He
didn't.
He actually
It
did Mach
was-
1 flying. He did Mach 1 flying.
No, I didn't know if he
Stuck up.
rolled or just kind of.
Yeah, no, it was just kind of like into the wall, bounced off the wall, and like
Okay.
into the inside wall.
Still kind of scary.
Yeah,
if
no.
You're going 180 miles an hour.
Well, I
to
mean,
a
it's
wall.
motorsport. Like I was expecting it because I'm a motor.
Yeah.
NASCAR isn't the first motorsport I've watched, and they crash all the time
Yeah.
in top level series. But like I had my mom with me and like some other like family members that like weren't into racing at all, which is kind of funny, just like shoving them in, like on the front row seats like Pocono Raceway. But they obviously haven't had experience with this, so to them it was definitely shocking.
Yeah.
Watching a car like go straight into the wall at like 100 plus mile an hour.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you can definitely hear the crunch too. It was very,
Yeah.
yeah. No,
So
thankfully everyone was okay. Like
Okay,
no,
that's
no,
good. That
yeah,
was my next question.
Oh,
Um,
there we go. Yeah,
yeah, no, everyone was fine.
Jeremy, do you watch Formula even?
No, like literally, I'm very much maybe a couple races if I'm like at home and I don't have anything to do. If it's on TV, I'll watch
Yeah.
a little
Fair
bit.
enough,
I've
fair
heard a couple names. So like I did hear about like Logano winning. I
Yeah.
heard about like the wall ride and all that stuff.
Oh,
So,
yeah,
that was a
which I
sick
guess we'll
one.
talk
That was
about
a
later
sick
maybe.
one.
But like
Yeah,
I hear
oh,
a little
it'll
bit
come
about
up.
it. Maybe watch race every now and then. But no, I'm a very casual fan. I guess
Yeah,
very very. very I'm very much don't watch too much of it. So it's like I guess I'm very much the audience surrogate. If you
Right.
haven't watched racing,
No, absolutely.
exactly. So like I'm learning with
Well,
you guys right here.
so you're familiar with the concept of Formula One. It's not an oval
Yes.
track,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah.
Actual.
The cars are a lot more nimble. They control a lot better. They're just as fast.
they're faster
Yeah.
actually. I would say.
Well,
well, I mean, I guess
if you
they're
put them
designed
in
for
a
different
straight
tracks.
line,
Yeah,
they'd be a little bit faster, but
kinda
only
hard to compare
because they
them.
have more power to get out of those turns quicker.
Right.
To make it a little more
But around
competitive.
the turns, they're like in NASCAR, you're doing 150 around a big ass turn. But
Yeah.
with a
And F1's
with
tighter
F1,
turns and
it's
stuff
really
like that.
tight, like
Okay,
80,
gotcha.
80 mile an hour or less.
Right, 'cause
Yeah.
I think I've probably seen like clips where like the grip is insane and like doing
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
like
you see it
crazy turns and stuff.
hug
So,
the
yeah,
road
yeah,
and
okay.
everything.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
NASCAR and Formula 1 are drastically different. Like their
Yeah.
cars are designed for way different purposes, so it's kind of hard to compare the two. But yeah, either way, NASCAR and Formula 1 are at like the top level of their respective
Absolutely.
like, categories.
And the big one with NASCAR is that the cars are going so fast the entire time,
Yeah.
inches away from each other.
Right.
In
okay.
Formula, yeah, you'll pass somebody really close to them, but in NASCAR, you're up
It's-
each other's butts.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
the
super speedway
entire
racing
time.
especially. It's
Oh yeah.
yeah, it's like a pack racing game, which is like kind of like what you said. It's very different from Formula 1, where you're like more used to like single car like lanes basically, or single car like following, you know, across like a circuit with lefts and rights, of course.
Of course.
But yeah, no, pack racing, especially on like Daytona and Talladega and like those like huge super speedways, is so fun. It is so fun watching these guys go like 200 miles an hour, like inches away from each other. And I've heard like NASCAR fans like complain about it because there's not a whole lot of passing, you know, it's not that interesting. But for me, like literally, they don't even have to pass each other. They could just do that for like for like 3 hours. I'm more than happy with that.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I'll kind of go into like what NASCAR is. So a lot of people I for sure have heard about NASCAR, especially in the U.S.
Oh, of course.
So NASCAR is actually split into 3 top series. Into 3 national series, I should say. But they also have like a bunch of other like international series. Like there's NASCAR Mexico. They have the NASCAR Euro Series. They also recently acquired a Sprint Series in Brazil. I think it's called like a NASCAR like Sprint Series.
I actually haven't heard anything about that.
Yeah, no, that's new. That just recently happened. But yeah, so the U.S. NASCAR is split into 3 national series. At the bottom, you have the Truck Series. In the middle, you have the Xfinity Series, and at the top, you have the Cup Series. And, you know, of course, in between these 3 series, they're also, like, running different cars. So trucks, obviously, they run trucks. You know, who would have guessed?
I didn't know that. So they have one where they run trucks? I didn't know that. Actually.
Yeah.
For real?
Yeah, their calendar's, like, a little bit shorter, and it's kind of like their, like, intro series into
cool.
like...
Some of their dirt tracks, too, right?
Yeah, they also do dirt tracks, too. More often than the other series, because they also run, like, 1 or 2 dirt tracks, I think.
Yeah, what's the middle one?
Xfinity?
Yeah, Xfinity one.
Yeah, I think they you know, they also run a couple dirt tracks, but, like, they're similar to the Cup cars, like, but they're built to like different specifications and they look a little bit different. It's kind of hard to like describe the difference.
Yeah, so it's the same teams. Oftentimes it'll be the same drivers, unless if they want to sub out for, you know, a new driver, an up and coming driver, or like a substitute driver.
Yeah.
We see a lot of the same names in Xfinity as we do in Cup.
Right.
And it almost feels like training to the championship guys.
Right.
Yeah.
Like when you see Logano in an Xfinity race, you know he's not giving it his all. Like he's working hard. Like he's still an athlete,
right, yeah,
but
and
he's in the
still, like, a
playoffs.
bunch
Yeah, I
of
was gonna say it's like more like training, and you're like kind of getting up to speed with it.
Right. You might have a new car. You might have like a new lead tech. You might have a new what do they call the guys with headsets?
Crew chiefs.
Yeah, crew chiefs. That's the one I was looking for.
Yep.
What was that? Yeah, exactly. The Hudson
For real,
Hornet in
though,
cars.
for real. Just
Let's
keeping
go.
in shape, basically, in a way.
Oh yeah.
gotcha.
Keeping in shape.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess if I want to keep the analogy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm working out, yeah.
Yeah, because Xfinity a lot of the time will run closely with Cup Series. Like they'll run at like the same tracks, like on the same weekend. Like so typically, if all 3 series are running like the same track on the same weekend, like you know Friday night will be truck race, Saturday midday will be the Xfinity race, and then Sunday midday will be the Cup race. So you kind of have like that progression through the weekend too. So there's always like a ton of racing throughout the whole year, which is another thing I mentioned because like Cup runs like 36 races a year. It's a lot. Those guys are super busy.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. On top of if they're also doing other series at the same time, or if they're running Xfinity, especially like the up and comers too, because they might like run their Xfinity program and also like jump in for like a couple of Cup Series races. Especially if like there's a driver absence. But yeah, no, those guys are super busy the whole year round. And for a NASCAR fan, like you're literally getting like 90 something races a year. On top of other, because a lot of NASCAR fans are also fans of like short track racing and dirt racing, that kind of thing, and midget racing.
Midget racing.
That's okay. That's like they're like these like little little single seater cars that like go around like tight little dirt tracks.
Kyle Busch jumps on the back of a midget.
It's a very southern thing. But yeah, so starting in 2014 in terms of like how the series works, so they'll have like a regular season points or regular point season, which is basically what you would expect, kind of like if you're used to like European racing, where go around a track, whoever finishes first gets the most points. Towards the end of the season, you start to really care about the playoffs, which if you're into, American sports like, baseball, football, whatever other sports use playoffs, you're already used to that. But, coming in as someone who's never watched a ball sport in his entire life, I don't really care, honestly, about like, football or baseball or whatever.
Or football, the good old classic football.
It's a little hot take, yeah.
Do you mean
or as Americans call it,
Yeah.
soccer?
I was gonna say, do you mean football or do you mean soccer?
Both. You know, we'll
What's
say both.
football?
Football Americano.
Oh, that's what the Germans call football, right? Football.
Whatever you say, Maddie.
Literally the rest of English and the French and the Spanish
And Americans call it
and the
soccer. Like
Italians.
that.
You're
Literally lessening off every
you're talking
country.
about football, right? With like the field goals and the quarterback.
For
Football,
sure. For sure.
right?
Yeah,
sure, Matt.
and the net.
Do you mean? Oh, you mean the Soccer World Cup? Do you want to?
the soccer World Cup.
Yeah, dude, the Soccer World Cup.
Yeah,
we're
indeed,
we're
bro. Exactly.
we've got the finalists now, right?
Yeah, Argentina just beat Croatia like 3-0. So
Nice.
And
they're in
today
the
I think
final.
France
and
beat Morocco.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Which is very disappointing.
Yeah.
If you ask me.
I mean,
I wanted Morocco to go. I wanted them to be the underdog.
I mean,
dude,
not gonna lie, like, the
underdogs
fact
are
they were
gonna
the
be
underdogs the
crazy.
entire way through, and it's the
Yeah.
first time like a team of their caliber got to this far.
They got this far.
So it's like, I mean, like that'd be cool to see them win. Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I was kind of like, let them go to the final. Yeah, let try. Let them go.
Let 'em
Just
give
let
it a
them
shot.
go.
Let them go. I want to see Morocco win, bro. No, but like, yeah, it'd been cool to see them get there. But obviously, I guess the energy of the world is like trying to see Messi win a World Cup. And well, I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Nah, I don't
Yeah.
want that.
Yeah, I know you watch football. You don't watch football.
You mean soccer?
Matt, I am not a soccer watcher either. Gotta say.
Oh no, I've been watching some
You
of
been
the World
watching some
Cup.
soccer? I
Yeah,
watch
yeah.
a little bit, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love soccer. I just don't know what football is,
Yeah.
unless if
Soccer's
you're talking
great,
about the
that's all
quarterbacks, right? Like blitzing and the tight ends. Those are my
Second,
favorite.
throwing a Hail Mary.
Wide receiver.
What was that?
Should we call it like egg ball?
Should call it
Egg
egg ball. I love it. I love it. It's kind of like well, we're getting off topic.
It'd be like that. No, but yeah. Actually, sports are cool. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah.
So
So NASCAR.
right. So we've
So
got
NASCAR.
something coming up in January, right?
Yeah. Well, that's not NASCAR. That's the 24 Hours of Daytona, which I'll get into. Don't worry. I'll get there.
The Le Mans.
The Le Mans of America.
Yes.
All right.
So
Let's
to
get there.
Back to NASCAR. Actually, I'll talk about like how the races work. So races are like 4 hours long usually, which is very unattractive to people who.
How many miles is it roughly?
So each of the races are actually like denoted by how long they are. So like a 500. So I don't know. It'll be like the blue emo like 500.
Oh, so it's 500.
It says it's 500 miles.
Okay.
Some tracks actually go by like laps if
Mhm.
they're shorter, like Martinsville's. Like
Yep.
the name is based off of like the amount of laps. You do.
Yeah.
But yeah, so each of the either way, like no matter like how many miles it is, it's usually still like around like 3 to 4 hours.
Right.
So each of the races is split into stages. This is also a new thing as Matt drops his. I was really hoping you're thinking you're gonna
Dropped
get away
what?
with that.
Dropped what? I didn't see anything.
It's exactly.
about,
Come
y'all.
on. Hang on.
Yeah.
Cut that. I literally just turned this
Leave
one
it- you
on
better leave
too.
it in.
Sorry, Shawn.
But yeah, so each of the this is also a new thing from like 2014. So each of the races is split up into like 3 stages. This is done to like promote like closer racing, especially like towards the end of the race, instead of like letting one guy just like run with it for like the whole like 3-4 hours long. So stage 1 is about the first like quarter of the race. Stage 2 is the next quarter, and then stage 3 that's the rest of the race, so like the other half. At the end of each stage, there's a winner. This is like a top 10 basically. So there's like 3 mini races within like the main race, and the points that you get from winning the stages or finishing in the top 10 in the stages goes towards your championship points. So I think the first stage 1 winner gets like 10 points or something like that, which adds up over time, especially if you're
Absolutely.
running like 36
Absolutely.
races. Yeah, so stages are very important in terms of like championship standing. Like always, being at the front of the field like throughout the whole 4 hours is also very important. But of course, you still want to win the main race overall. Like that's where you're gonna get the most points, and that's where you're gonna get a guaranteed place in the playoffs. Which, by the way, the 16 drivers or 16 winners throughout the season are guaranteed a spot in the playoffs. And if there's more than 16, then it just goes based on points. So, yeah, if you win, you're in, basically. So, and then at the end of the season, you have the playoffs, which is split into, like, 4 different rounds. So first round is the round of 16. That's where all of the playoff drivers are. And the bottom 4, in terms of points, throughout that, like, the 3 race span that is the round of 16, get knocked out. So... you also have to be finishing well within. Oh, and by the way, in those playoff standings, you're basically like only racing your playoff guys. Like, so you're only really paying attention to like the 16 drivers, but of course, like most of the field is still there, basically just for fun. So and then going into the next round, the round of 12, same situation, like 3 rounds of the round of 12, bottom 4 drivers get knocked down. Then you have the round of 8 and then the round of 4, the championship 4, and that's the end of the season. Like 1 race, 4 drivers. Whoever finishes in front of those 4 drivers is the champion. Yeah. And that race is usually held at Phoenix, which is not the best track, I will say.
No, not my favorite either.
Yeah,
Why is it not the best track? Like, as someone who's not familiar with all the tracks, I guess, like, what makes that one not good for that one? What do you say?
Because it's just like an intermediate track with like not a whole lot of passing. It's not very exciting to watch.
Gotcha.
They're definitely like
so not as dynamic, maybe.
Not as dynamic is a good way to put it.
Maybe?
Yeah, some tracks are definitely a lot better for racing than others. And that's also seen with Formula One and other series. It's just it kind of happens in like every series. There's always going to be like 1 or 2 not good races, like Texas Motor Speedway. So, speaking of which, throughout the season, there's also an all-star race, which doesn't count towards the championship, but there is a large prize pool. Like, I think the winner of the all-star race gets like $1 million. And
not bad.
Yeah.
For the Baja budget, bro. We need more money, bro.
That's only 10% of the budget. It's whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway,
for the parties, for everything else. That's the
parties.
extra part. That's the extra budget for everything else.
Yeah.
Extracurriculars.
But you have to race yourself into the all stars. Like, not anyone can just say I want to be in the all star race, and they'll just let them in. You have to so before the all star race, there's 2 qualifying races, I think, split, and they split the field in half, and so the first group will race, and whoever's in the top few, I don't remember the exact positions you have to be to advance into the all-star race, but so they'll just eliminate whoever's on the bottom half or whatever within both of those qualification races, and then when the race day comes, just have at it. Whoever wins, and they get the $1 million. I think they still have stages. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I think so.
Yeah, but there's no points, so just kind of whoever wins the race gets $1 million.
Yeah, knockout style.
Yeah, knockout style. Oh yeah, right. I think for the qualification races, is it that what am I trying to say? If you get if you get a certain position, you're safe. You're guaranteed to be in the all-star race, or
with the qualifyings.
Yeah, in the qualifying races before them.
So if you're the first 5 positions or something like that, or
yeah, I think so, something like that.
I'm not certain.
Yeah, but either way, yeah. It's more of a fun thing, in the middle of the season, whatever.
Yeah.
Just and you do have some underdogs try and win. I think Ryan Blaney, who's one of who was my pick this year to actually win the championship.
Really?
Didn't win a single point season race, but he did win the All-Star race.
Oh,
which
okay.
I mean, he got $1 million.
Yeah, good for him.
But he didn't get a championship.
You don't need to win the championship if you made $1 million.
That's true,
season, right?
That's true.
Your team won't be too mad about that.
Yeah. I'm just very upset about Joe Logano winning his championship, man. He was
You're really that upset about it?
Okay, well,
It's
not
the
I
passion in
don't
his
lose
voice,
sleep over
Yeah.
it. I'm not genuinely upset about it, but out of all the drivers that could have won it, I didn't want Logano to win it. I was looking forward to Ross Chastain even before the wall ride thing, and everyone got on his.
Is that Ross Chastain?
That was Ross Chastain, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Everyone knew him afterwards.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
Everybody,
Which was
everybody hopped on the bandwagon,
Yeah.
exactly.
Wall ride
including
of the
Brandon.
Okay, look, I was a fan of his since
Wall
last
rides
season.
McGee.
Wall rides McGee. That's a good title to have, honestly. He deserves that. That was honestly, I could go on about
An
that Martin
incredible
Soul.
move.
That was.
Did you guys see the clip that had his headset audio in it?
Yeah.
Just
Dude,
him
The one
talking
from,
to his
okay.
crew.
I was thinking about the one from from the dash, I guess, where it just
Yeah,
kind
it's
of
not
crackles.
dash
and,
That's
camera
also
footage,
good-
but
that's
yeah,
also
you can get
good.
the audio.
Yeah.
Well,
I think
yeah.
that one,
I saw the.
Oh, we're on the wall now.
The
Or guess we're
camera-
winning.
Yeah, no, he was like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna send it."
literally,
Going for it, boys.
and he sent it.
Going for
And
it.
he did.
Literally.
And
Full
he didn't-
send it.
Dude, that thing looked unreal. But yeah. So Ross Chastain coming into the season, and Trackhouse Racing in general, which is one of the NASCAR Cup Series teams, who is owned by Red Bull, or not Red Bull, Pitbull.
What,
Mr.
Pitbull?
305, Mr. Worldwide.
Mr.
Mr.
Worldwide
Worldwide.
himself.
Yeah, Mr. Worldwide himself
Wow.
owns Trackhouse Racing.
That sounds pretty sick.
Yeah.
Wild right there. Nice.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I think. Oh my God, what's that one boxer's name? Floyd Mayweather.
Mayweather?
Yeah, he
Mayweather.
also owns another team.
wow.
The Money Team.
Does he really?
Yeah, they only ran the Daytona 500 and I think a couple other races this year. I think he also ran Road America. Which, by the way, NASCAR is not just ovals. They also run on rights and lefts as well.
There's a right?
What?
We both had to say something.
This is the first time I'm hearing about it. No.
Southern Devon is like, wait, what?
Southern Devon.
Southern Devon just screamed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know there's. I forget where they are, but I do know that there's tracks that's actual racing tracks, not just circles. And ovals.
Yeah. So there's Road America. There's not Road Atlanta. There's Watkins Glen. There's Circuit of the Americas. They only run like a handful of.
There's not many.
Yeah. So, but either way, it's like a fun little thing to watch. Because certain drivers are really good on road courses, and they really shine. Like I think Bubba Wallace is pretty good on. Wait, actually maybe not. I can't remember actually. No, Bubba Wallace is good on super speedways, who I'm a fan of. But yeah, no, certain drivers are really good at road course racing. But yeah, NASCAR is actually really complex. It's not just
sounds like it.
Yeah, it's not just like turning left for like 4 hours straight.
So you mentioned there's a Le Mans.
Yeah,
NASCAR.
that's for a different series. So the 24 Hours of Daytona, which is basically like American Le Mans.
Yeah.
So that's in January. That's run by IMSA, the International Motorsports Association, which I always thought was an ironic name because all the races are in America. But whatever.
International.
Yeah, it's just America.
Like the World
Not
Series.
the AMCA.
Yeah.
The AMCA.
Like the World
Actually,
Series.
they might have a Canadian race. Well, at least like their top series level, their top level series, the Michelin Endurance Series, is American. But yeah, so at the start of the race, to start off the Michelin Endurance Series, they'll initiate the season with the 24 Hours of Daytona, which, as it sounds, is a 24-hour long race at the Daytona International Speedway. So the track does incorporate part of the oval, but most of it is like the inner road course section. So Daytona does also have an inner road course section. So honestly, the Daytona 24 Hours is like probably one of the biggest things that I look forward to like every year, because it kicks off like the racing season basically. And this past year we actually had like a really good like race like right at the end. It was between like two of the Porsches. Because the IMSA Endurance Series like is a multi-class series. I'll get into that. But like it was literally right to the wire between I think it was like the FAF Porsche and KCMG. It was really exciting, like right up to the end. But yeah, so what multi-class racing is, you'll have like a handful of different categories of cars that are each competing for their own race, basically. So you'll have like the GT cars, the Grand Tourers, which are basically like souped up like consumer vehicles. Like you have the Porsche 911 GT3,
Nice.
the Lamborghini Huracan GT3,
Ferraris.
Ferraris. Yeah, the Ferrari actually just came out with their new 296 GT3.
That's what it was.
Yeah, it's super gorgeous car.
Screw that.
Yeah,
Give me a-
Not a Ferrari fan.
Nah, give me the Porsche every day of the week.
Yeah, honestly,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Italian cars, no?
No,
Italian
I like an
car.
Italian car. Don't get me wrong. As an Italian, I understand that they are quality. They
I
are.
say like as an
But
Italian.
you
like,
guys
wow.
know who owns Ferrari, right? It's the Volkswagen Audi group.
Volkswagen,
Yeah, they do.
Audi.
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
They-
owned by Volkswagen
Mercedes
Audi.
is independent though, right? Or is Mercedes under that?
Mercedes is the
Is-
parent company which owns several
Which-
makes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Ferrari, Lamborghini, and either Bentley or Rolls Royce, whichever one is
I think
based out of
Bugatti is under
England.
them. too.
Bugatti's on that.
Yeah.
Yes, Bugatti is as well.
I thought Ferrari was separate.
Yeah, no, they're owned by VAG now,
Yeah.
the Volkswagen Audi group. Long story short,
like he slipped up. Oh.
long story short, the Volkswagen Audi group, the Porsche is their nicest car.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Other than the Audi, of course.
Which,
We
by the
talked
way-
about this. I'm a German car guy.
Yeah.
Is Honda in it or is it under Acura?
Honda.
So
So I know- I
Honda
know-
owns Acura.
Yeah, I know. I
Yeah.
didn't know if they were racing an Acura car or if it's a Honda brand.
So Acura races in like the top level.
Right.
So that's the DPI category.
Yeah.
Or well, it used to be called DPI, the Daytona Prototype International, but now that got rebranded to GTP, which stands for GT Prototype.
Okay.
Which I'm not too sure about like the specific regulation changes.
Because if they're racing in America, then it's going to be an Acura. But if
Right.
it's anywhere else, it's a Honda.
Yeah.
So.
Pretty much.
But Acura only races like at the top level in terms of like endurance
Yeah.
racing in the U.S.
Right.
With the with this year's or next year's ARX 05 or 06 actually,
Okay.
which is a gorgeous car.
Yeah. I was
Literally,
looking at it, yeah.
Yeah, all of the GTP cars are gorgeous.
They're
literally
really
every single.
pretty cars. I was
Yeah.
shocked.
My personal favorite is the BMW M Hybrid.
Yeah.
Those big old nostrils, which actually look good.
Eh,
Have you seen it?
I have seen it.
Yeah, I think it's gorgeous.
I think BMW took a wrong turn a couple of years ago, and they just keep digging themselves a deeper and deeper grave.
That's whoever they have on their motorsports side is killing it because I think their motorsports cars
Fair enough.
all look so good.
Can I,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Pull up the was it
the
BMW?
M3 hybrid you said?
No, the BMW M Hybrid.
Oh, just no number. Sorry.
Yeah, no numbers, which was honestly surprising because I figured they would throw some numbers in there because
Yeah.
they usually do, but whatever.
Yeah, I was checking out the list you put. It was like the Toyota GR, the Gazoo Racing
Yeah.
ones, the Alpine, the
Yeah.
the Cadillac was
Those-
one too.
Yeah. So a lot of those cars are only racing the WEC, which is the European. Yeah, that
it's the
thing's
European Le
gorgeous.
Mans. Ooh,
Yeah, which is honestly like that car and the.
they still gotta put the nostrils on those.
I
Like, the
quite like
grills.
it.
That's
I
what I
like
said.
it.
just
You know
That's
what
what
I
I said. They started doing it with the street cars, and now they're going to put it on
They
their
were-
cool cars.
They kept getting bigger and bigger, and now they threw it on that.
I think it looks
I
good.
think it's
Other
disgusting.
than that, I think it looks good. But the grill,
The grill,
It's
it's
like the nostrils
on a
is
jet,
beat.
boys. It looks
yeah.
great.
This is like the one.
Wait,
good
so,
thing about
so
Tony
Jeremy,
Hawk's.
you like that?
I mean, it does look like a big
go
pair
to
of
the
nostrils,
front
but like,
view. The front view right there.
I guess I'm the only one here.
yeah, I can't
No,
like
it's-
agree
it's
with you,
totally
Brandon.
fine
Like, I
to-
can't agree with you, Brandon, but it's like it just reminds me of like a jet, like a fighter jet.
That's
intake.
probably
It's
what they were
cool.
going
Yeah,
for.
yeah.
What's
Maybe. Maybe they put 'em on
what's the name of the
sides,
Porsche
like,
that
I
they're
don't know.
using for GTP?
It's the 963, which is also
Yeah,
another
that's it.
gorgeous looking car. It's a successor to the 919,
Yeah. yeah.
which was Porsche's
Ooh.
super successful race car.
See, that
Come
looks
on.
nice.
Subtle.
That looks really good.
But beautiful.
Right.
Like it's not as extravagant
Understated,
as the BMW.
classy,
Right.
classy.
See, that's the
what you
word.
get
That's
out
the word I
of
was
a
looking
Porsche.
for. Classy. That's
Classy,
what I was looking
classy.
for. Yeah.
And Ferrari is also running with the 499P, which is another gorgeous car. It's not a GTP car. It's only racing. Wait, actually, is it GTP? I actually don't remember now.
Was that one?
Yeah, no. So the WC
That
with
is
their,
quite pretty, actually.
Yeah.
with
I
their
have to admit.
LMDH category and the GTP category are very similar. There's like the same type of car, but they just run under different regulations and like run under different races basically. But they are in theory competitive. But
yeah,
yeah,
they should be.
yeah. Super gorgeous looking cars. I love them so much.
You know, I like my NASCARs more.
That's fair.
There's
That's
no
fair.
point to have those big wheel wells and being so close to the ground. How are you supposed to roll it?
They do it anyway. They do it
Oh,
anyway.
they manage. They certainly
Find
manage.
a way.
They'll
Oh,
find a way.
Find a way.
But yeah, so right back to what I was saying about 24 Hours of
Yeah.
Daytona. So yeah, as it sounds, it's a 24-hour long endurance race at the Daytona track in Florida in February, or not February, late January, almost February. Honestly, when I first learned about endurance racing, I thought that they literally just had like each driver run for 24 hours straight. But no, they don't do that. That would be a really bad idea. But
would
they
be
did. They used to.
Terrible.
Yeah, back in like the 1960s, they had like no rules about like how long you could be in the car for. So
All
some
forms
guys
of early
literally would
racing
just
were
drive for
absolutely
24 hours
wild.
straight.
Yeah, well, why
All forms
not?
of early racing were
Stop
wild.
and, just
Yeah.
bring a pee bottle with you, right?
Exactly, literally.
Yeah.
The 2 liter, the old good old 2 liter. That's all you
Good
need.
old 2 liter.
Wow.
2 liter.
Few of them.
Literally.
Few of them. Load it up.
But yeah, no. The drivers are only allowed to drive like a certain length, or well, more accurately, I should say.
Oh, they
have
have a time limit.
yeah, they have a time limit. Well, there's a minimum drive time. So in order to achieve that, especially for like 3 or 4 drivers,
Right.
you'll have to give the car to your drivers for a certain number of laps
Yeah.
or hours. It's counted in hours. So yeah. Unlike NASCAR, it's just 24 hours straight, like no breaks, no stages or nothing, just 24 hours straight. It's more of like a challenge on your equipment than it is on the drivers themselves, although it is a mixture of
A
both.
bit, yeah, a bit of both.
But yeah, you have to make your car reliable enough to run at race pace for 24 hours straight,
Yeah.
which is very difficult to achieve. So yeah.
Certainly.
Especially 'cause
A
they're
lot of
pushing
time.
it so hard. It's
Yeah.
going 100 and however many miles an hour.
Yeah, especially on like the outer bank where you're literally like, foot to the floor.
Yeah.
Like on the oval. So yeah, you'll see a lot of mechanical issues throughout the 24 hours. But a lot of the time, it doesn't even put you out of the race. Like, you can have, like, a drive shaft, like, literally fall off your car, but you can, like, bring it back to the pits. Yeah,
Slap back in.
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, the two of us have gone to our Baja competitions. Baja SAE, the 4-hour endurance race, is not easy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like, I was on
bet
Carnage
not.
Crew, so, like, I could see, like, everything just getting damaged very
Oh,
badly.
yeah.
Like, one car literally
Right.
had, like, what, a broken drive shaft literally just popped out. You could just see it. Like, it was funny as hell.
In
And,
the
like,
first 20
yeah.
minutes of the race, half of the teams pit.
For the first 20 minutes.
In the first 20
No,
minutes of a
literally.
4-hour endurance,
Wow.
half of the teams
Wow.
pit. If you can honestly break from the line, you're set. You're
Yeah.
golden. Take
Yeah.
your time, scope out the track.
There's always that beginning section where like everything's going wrong for most of the teams, and then after that's kind of like evens out, and then like usually by driver's switch there's a couple more like flips and turns and stuff like because now the new driver's getting used to it.
Yeah.
And that's like it was a fun 4 hours just seeing like we were like okay it should be about now we get some like flips right, and then there was a couple flips, and then we're like here we go time to go to work. So it was a very fun time over there.
Yeah, but so yeah, no, endurance racing, like honestly, you can honestly like consider finishing the race a success. Like just being able to cross the line after 24 hours is already a win in and of itself, regardless if you're like 10, 20 laps
yeah.
down.
Yeah.
But yeah, and you can also like bet on the fact that other people are going to have issues with their cars. So even if you're like at the start of the race, like 10 laps down, like you'll probably get that back eventually. Like either.
Oh yeah, you could catch up by quite a few laps.
Yeah,
Even an
yeah,
hour
24
shorter
hours.
endurance race.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So you know that's based on like having a bunch of cautions throughout the race, where you can like unlap yourself, or just being faster and catching up on your own basically. And also, of course, like I said, banking off the fact that other drivers are going to have their own issues too. Honestly, this might be a controversial take, but I think sports car racing and endurance racing is a better form of motorsport than Formula One.
Whoa! Wait, I agree.
Yeah.
I was just trying to.
Honestly, it's like I know why it's only once. It's once a year. So it's,
that's the first race.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of other races too that are
there's
also
the
like
races after, but
yeah.
like that 24 hours, it's just so like straining on the it's straining on the car, obviously the engine and everything,
but also
it's on
mentally
the
draining
drivers.
too.
Yeah.
Especially in the late hours.
Yeah, especially in the late hours. It's rough. Probably.
Yeah, you'll see like a lot of drivers like literally just have like a lapse of judgment at like 3 a.m, understandably so, and then they'll like make a mistake, go off and like damage the car, or literally
As we all do
exactly.
at 3 a.m.
Did you guys ever watch Ford v Ferrari?
That movie is
Such a
so
good
good.
movie,
I
yeah.
love that movie
I
so much.
haven't seen
What?
it.
You need to watch
Well,
it. It's
man,
really
we're
good.
talking about this.
Ford versus
you
Ferrari.
gotta
That's
I'll see
wild.
myself out.
Well, that's
Get
why
outta
Le Mans.
here.
Well, actually, the Daytona 24 Hours is in that movie.
They
'cause,
do mention it, yeah. Like,
yeah.
the
Yeah,
driver
yeah.
drives that one for a minute to prove himself.
Yeah.
So, like, that is in the movie.
Because he drove the Shelby Cobra, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yes.
then
I
the
believe so,
GT
anyway.
went to Le Mans.
Right.
Actual. Yeah. So.
But yeah, that's more focused on Le Mans, which is also like probably one of the biggest races in all of motorsport.
Oh, yeah.
Throughout the whole year, on top of like the Indy 500 and like the Monaco Grand Prix.
We spoke about it last time. There are 2 cars sat in my backyard rotting away named after the Le Mans race.
Yeah,
it's the 73 Pontiac GTO Le Mans body style.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This is the
Oh, yeah,
first
this is the
time
first
No
hearing
need to
about
tell
this.
me twice.
Because you haven't heard the podcast, right?
Yeah.
I guess the first to hear of it, yeah, because they talked about that for a minute.
Is it for sale?
He's like, I want it, and I want it now.
They do not run.
But that is a desirable car though, so you could probably sell that for
That's
if
pretty.
you wanted to
Oh,
sell
if
it.
you fix that up, even if
Come
it's-
on.
Oh yeah, once it's fixed up, it's
Yeah.
over, bro.
That's
It's
just-
over.
And what's the other one?
They're both
Oh, they're
73
both
Le
those?
Mans. Yeah. So one has we talked about it last time, just very briefly again.
Right.
One is the 455 cubic inch
Huge
big
engine.
block
It's
V8.
massive.
Massive. I think it's like 7.6 liters or something in a
Which is
V8.
stupidly-
7.6?
And it makes like
Yeah.
200 horsepower. Like,
Yeah, seriously.
that's honestly one of my favorite
Catch that
things
in
about like
another podcast.
late.
7.6.
Yeah.
Like,
Like
what did you
bro.
say? 200 horsepower?
like out of like a big ass engine. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, 7.45.
American
approximately.
engineers were not
Approximately.
concerned about efficiency. Like they were just like,
No.
literally just make it as big as you can and just throw
Oh,
it in.
yeah.
And
Oh,
it makes
yeah.
like
He'll be
200
fine, he'll be
horsepower.
fine.
It's slow as molasses. Slow as molasses.
Like how do you make an engine that big and that
Well,
weak?
they were sold mostly for people to mod them. They're actually
fair,
really
actually.
You have the
Wait, so that's
here's
the
the
purpose of
engine,
Wait,
here's
they-
the body.
sold?
not
Yeah.
the
No, what do you
purpose
mean,
of the
other
engine
car?
because 200 I think it was like 218 horsepower.
Roughly.
That at the time was a lot.
Yeah.
Well,
Because
okay, well, no,
your
for sure.
economy
Yeah,
car
yeah,
had
yeah, right,
45
right.
horsepower.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
got
For, like, the
you got
70s
a
and a
big
time, then it makes
Volkswagen
sense.
bus. that thing was making like 33 horsepower.
Yeah.
This little car with that, you were on the drag strip.
Yeah.
You were impressing everybody. You were picking up all the ladies.
Right. Yeah. It is a product of its time, which is important to.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you change the camshaft around. You do a little boring. You change the compression ratio to something ridiculous like 15:1.
Get the beans out
You
of that
jet
one.
your carb, dude. You could get the beans
beans
out of
out of
that.
that one.
I mean, it's 7.5 liters.
It make use of those 7.5 liters.
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
for
sir.
real.
But yeah, no, Le Mans is also an amazing race, which honestly,
Yeah.
I mean, that's honestly like a larger race than Daytona 24 is, but
Agreed.
but IMSA
There's more
is-
of a spectacle around it.
right, yeah,
Since it's that 24 hours sort of,
Yeah.
hyped up, kill the car,
Yeah.
kill the drivers, sort of
in
thing.
some instances, yeah, not in a while, not in a while, to be
Not
fair.
for a while, but that was more
Um,
of like a metaphorical,
right. But yeah, there also used to be a thing like in the 90s, I think, of like literally like flying cars, because what had happened was the drivers or like these cars would generate like a ton of lift underneath
they
them.
weren't aerodynamic at
And
all.
at least underneath them. And that's actually why you see like cutoffs or like these cuts like in the wheel
Yeah.
wells to let that air escape, so you're not generating so much lift. I think it was the Mercedes like CLK something. It was one of their like prototype cars. They would literally fly. There was one
They
very
actually hit Mach 1.
Yeah.
They actually hit Mach 1, then they go flying off.
yeah. There's this one like super popular clip of like one of their Mercedes cars, like literally flying up and off the track and like into the trees, and it is honestly amazing how the guy didn't die.
He did. Oh, he's alive.
He lived
from
through
after that. But
Yeah. I don't remember specifically who the driver was. I think it might have been Mark Webber, but I don't know if that's exactly true. But yeah, no, the guy somehow managed to drive, which even back then, given how far we've come in terms of safety standards,
Safety, yeah.
it's amazing that he didn't die.
Ergo.
Ergo,
I keep
yeah.
forgetting that I'm ergo and safety. Don't tell
And
anyone else
safety.
that, but I keep forgetting that I'm ergo
Ooh.
and safety.
Don't tell
Nice.
anyone else that on
No,
the
don't worry. That's what
podcast.
Cougs always tells me. He's the one that's taking care of safety. He'll be like, "That's not safe,
Live on the
Jeremy." And I'll be
radio.
like, "All right, now I
Don't tell
know."
nobody.
Safety third, right, guys?
Oh, safety third. Safety third.
Absolutely.
All you need is your safety squints.
You got
I-
the
I'll
harness.
just-
You'll be
I
fine.
couldn't tell you how many times I've welded without a mask on. Not on school property. Definitely
course
on my
not.
own
I was
private
about to
time.
say, like,
Course
are you sure you
not.
want to admit that?
Of course.
No, it's
Okay,
on my
whatever.
own private time. I'm an American citizen.
He can do what he wants in his private time, guys. It's all good.
Exactly.
He can blind himself if he wants.
You just like size up the line that you're trying to weld. You look away and you just,
You look away, close one
and then
eye.
you look back and you go.
Look back. Looks
"That's
terrible.
good enough,
Looks
alright."
Looks terrible.
And then you put it on your
No,
car
it
and
looks
go
good
drive
enough.
70 miles
Good
an
enough.
hour.
Good enough.
Good
for
enough
it's
is
for.
what we're aiming
Good
Yeah.
enough for who it's for, basically.
Good enough.
Yeah, so back with IMSA. So yeah, it starts off with 24 hours of Daytona, 24-hour long endurance race, but they also run a bunch of different races throughout the year. Some shorter, some actually all of them shorter than that. The 24-hour
Oh, yeah.
Daytona is the longest race of the year, but they'll also run like 2.5-hour long races. They'll run like 6-hour long races, and the series ends with the Petite Le Mans at Road Atlanta, which is 10 hours long. Which I think unfortunately I missed out on like this really good race to the line a couple years ago. I can't remember who it was with. I know it was like with the I think it was like between an Acura and the Cadillac. But what are you laughing about?
Sorry, nothing.
Okay. Anyway,
Cut it.
This microphone smells good.
We'll
My
cut
bad.
that. We'll cut that.
but yeah. So
Oh, we didn't.
we didn't do it.
Sorry.
Okay. Anyway,
Cut that too.
Technical thing. We'll get back to it.
is it the clap thing?
Yeah.
I was wondering about that too.
We
Actually.
never marked.
Okay.
Ready?
Is it too late now?
No. Why would it be too late?
That's fair.
He'll edit that. Put it in post.
Yep.
Oh,
Perfect.
you're good.
Okay.
Oh.
But yeah. So IMSA also runs like a bunch of shorter races throughout the year. All of them endurance races. Oh, right. So I didn't mention this before, but yeah. So of course, like you're not gonna have one driver driving for the whole 24 hours. So you'll have driver changes during pit stops. So like a driver will he'll go on like what's called like a stint, which is basically like from the time you leave the pits to the time you come back, either for like tires or fuel. And they'll like base like how long they drive off of stints. So say you do like 3 stints, I think would be like an hour and a half. So like about half an hour on like tires and fuel, and then you'll come back and then you'll throw them out and throw the next guy in. So drivers do have to practice driver changes so they speed up, gain a couple tenths wherever they can. Even though I think the limiting factor is still like how fast you can get fuel in the car, but it's still good to get drivers in and out as quickly as
Everything
possible.
else situated and
Right.
just like go right away. As
Yeah.
soon as you're done. Yeah.
There's a lot of facets about endurance racing that make it so fun to watch. Like, honestly, just like watching the cars go around and watching all the driver changes, like there doesn't even have to be like on track racing or like close racing for like the whole 24 hours, because there's still something to watch. There's still something to pay attention to consistently throughout like 24 whole hours, which is one of the reasons why I think it's better than Formula One, honestly. But yeah, and also of course there's also the fact that like a lot of the teams, especially like in the lower categories, like GT, which is still like that's still like the top level of Grand Touring racing. They're so a lot of the time they're literally racing in the same exact car. Like it'll be Porsche versus Porsche, or like Lamborghini versus Lamborghini or Ferrari. And they'll have like races like right up until the line, like in 2021 with the two Porsches at the end of the 24 Hours of Daytona. Which honestly, the fact that you're like able to stay on the same pace as another driver, another team for like literally 24 whole hours to have a battle to the end, even after all of that, is amazing. So yeah, like literally every year there's always a new story, out of the whole 24 hours. So there's always something to look forward to, especially this year or this coming year when we have like a bunch of new competitors and a bunch of new rules, both in the GTP category and the LMDH category in the WEC. Which the WC, the World Endurance Championship, is basically like the European version of this. It's also larger than IMSA, and they'll be running like the 24 Hours or 24 Hours of Le Mans, which is, like I said, the biggest race in all of motorsport, or at least one of the biggest races aside from like the Indy 500 in all of motorsport.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, we all gotta have a little watch party, right? Baja's gotta
dude,
sit
we
down
do.
for
Absolutely, yeah.
sit down for 24 hours and watch the Le Mans.
Of course.
Sounds like a ball. I love
It
it.
does,
Yeah.
honestly, yeah.
So, Brandon, thank you for lecturing us on NASCAR.
Of course.
But
your sage knowledge.
let
on
us
NASCAR.
sign out with a little conversation about what we do about Baja, because racing's fun. We're all into racing. We love to race, but how are you guys feeling about how this season's going, being on Highlander Racing and all of that? Let's get a couple of takes from you two.
Oh, you want to start, Devin, or want me to start?
Yeah, I'll start. Yeah, I feel like, I was here when I started at Baja. It was January of last semester, so I was on when everyone was just building the car and actually putting it together, and so I didn't really get to see like the development side of it. But I feel like we're pretty good on schedule so far, at least for drivetrain. Like me and like one other part are kind of not on schedule, but other than that, it feels like everyone's doing pretty well so far, and we're ready for the following weeks.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. I've heard a couple of updates from Drivetrain, but Joel's been working a whole lot.
Yeah, they've put in so many hours.
Yeah.
Just doing all the research and calculations and everything.
Oh, absolutely. We've got 17 days until our design freeze.
Yeah.
So the deadline.
So that's a big one. We're all getting ready for that, I'm sure.
Of
Oh,
course.
for sure. It's going to be a fun time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, right. Exactly.
Jeremy, how's working with Chassis?
It's been good. I mean, Chris, he's a quiet guy, but usually whenever he mentions something, it's important. So every conversation I have with him, usually it's like down to what's important, and it's pretty good. I like working with him, honestly. And we're working on trying to make the chassis size because you want to make the wheelbase short is what they want to do, and they want to optimize space, which is fine. But obviously, like one of the things about ergonomics, actually, I talked about earlier, a lot of the research is also based around like a standard car, and like your seating position is incredibly different in a Baja car. So it's part of like the struggle of like trying to find a way to like sort of translate it over to this type of thing. And like a truly ergonomic car is not a proper race car. So it's like, it's kind of like a weird like middle ground to face. But it's been good. We were able to get sort of like a nice compromise between everything. And it's been great working with, guys on brakes, on the pedals. We're nice kind of like working with everyone else on different parts and stuff like that, the whole working together aspect of it. Like Devin just said, the deadlines seem to be pretty good. We're all kind of getting there, and that's kind of nice to see. And, hopefully a good research phase and design phase will make an easier manufacturing phase because
Yeah,
we'll think about everything
absolutely.
ahead of time.
Yeah.
Because like he said, I also joined in fall, a little bit before even fall, but I got more active in January, like the next semester that came by for the manufacturing phase. And definitely it was quite hectic, very, very
Oh,
hectic.
it's
Everyone here
really-
knows how hectic that
Yeah.
was.
Oh, yeah.
But, we
and
made
we
it.
spoke on that last time.
Oh, yeah,
too.
we know how bad that was. But, we're trying to get ahead of the curve on that in terms of knowing what we're trying to do before we do it. And I think we're there. I think we're in a good spot right now. I'm pretty happy with my team, honestly. I think everyone's has had a good team, honestly, at this point. I think everyone's had a good amount of, people attending and, doing their work. pretty happy with my team. I'm imagining you guys are happy with yours as well.
Yeah, I mean,
So yeah, this team has been it's been good so far.
Attendance has been great.
Mhm.
We onboarded 40 some odd new
Something
members.
like that, yeah.
We've
Right.
kept almost all of
We
them,
kept
and
a good
we
amount,
have
honestly. I was
almost
this
all
sounds
of
bad,
last
but I was
season.
surprised
too.
in the beginning how many we got, honestly, a little bit, because it just seems to be like you'll have a couple presentations, you'll talk to a lot of people, and then usually not many of them will like show up for interest meetings or whatever. So I wasn't expecting that many people to join, which was great that we were able to like hold on to like a good amount of them as well. And that's down to, I guess, like HR and everyone on e-board that were able to kind of create a great plan, because that was like I think Victoria's plan over the summer. She did the onboarding plan, so good on her there too, actually.
Oh yeah,
That was
business
a great
put in a
plan.
lot
Yeah,
of
they
work
did a-
for this
they did a good
season,
plan
and
there,
I think it's been
actually.
coming around.
Oh, for sure.
Seriously, we've been doing a lot of good stuff, and I'm really happy with everything that's been coming out of it. But as far as being on ergonomics, with that whole what does ergonomics even do?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for real.
When you got thrown, what, 5 guys?
4 or 5 guys, yeah.
4 or 5
Yeah.
guys. Did you think to yourself, like, what am I going to have these kids do?
Honestly, in the
Like,
beginning, in
what?
the summer, yeah, definitely when like I first started, like right before Arizona, like when they were kind of trying to get new leads going and trying to like restart the whole leadership thing going. Definitely for a
Absolutely.
couple weeks there, I was like, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do and what I'm gonna do with everyone else when I get them. But surprisingly, there's always enough research and everything to go around. Like once I kind of got into it and had enough ideas going, because I also had to make sure I outlined all the ideas for everyone later on. I had to make sure I kind of like because I don't want to get there and then like think on them and be like, oh, I don't know what to give you. So I tried to do my best to make sure I had enough stuff to give them, and they've all been working pretty consistently actually. There's been like maybe a lull of 1 week where I like where we were working on something else maybe, and I kind of like stopped working on one thing for a minute just to kind of focus on another. But yeah, it's been pretty good actually for a topic that you might not think has a lot to do with a lot of research to go with it. There's been enough to go the entire semester actually, and like here we are at the end. I'm like, damn, we're still doing like we've done a bunch of stuff throughout the entire semester, and that surprised me even actually. Like the amount of work that I actually put into it. Because I wasn't sure like how much would go into it, and then there you go. But I like it. I enjoyed the work, and I enjoyed like making sure that everyone else had stuff to do, and they all seemed to enjoy it as well. They were very happy to have work to do, which is great. You don't want to like be there and not have work to do if you want to be here.
Yeah.
No,
So
absolutely.
that's like it motivated them in a good way.
Yeah, of
So,
course. That's one of the
Imagine
ways
you
that
guys
we've
all had the
always
same stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the ways we've always lost people in the past, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Was people coming, wanting to get the engineering experience, wanting to get hands-on.
And they have nothing to do.
That's the
Right,
worst
and
part
that's
too,
just
because
not
they
having
wanted to learn,
anything
and then
for
they
people to
don't, and then they
do.
weren't able to get. That's the worst part too,
Yeah.
because they want to.
Yeah.
So it's like, I tried to make sure I give them a bunch of stuff to do all the time. So they've been doing it. Yeah.
And I think that our leadership has been doing a great job of that. Just delegating. Like in leadership, you don't have to get hands-on with any of the design, but oversee it, make sure it's all going to work together, make sure you're talking to the other sub-team leads. If these students want to get their hands dirty with CAD, if they want to get their hands dirty with manufacturing, you can point them in the right direction, because that's what we are to, this team of 90-ish students,
It's a big
on a
organization.
good day.
It's a big organization. It's hard to like. It requires good leadership to lead something, and we're getting bigger.
Oh,
So it's
yeah.
like you need to have like a good amount of people that know what they're kind of doing when it comes to. Because we joke around with delegating, like, oh, I'll delegate to this guy, oh, but like delegating actually it's a whole thing. You're supposed to kind of like be able to
Yeah.
guide people, and that's
Yeah.
kind of hard to like. Some people are not good at guiding others to do something, so it's definitely a skill. Like, how do you guide someone without like taking it over for them? Like, you want to like.
Certainly.
So it's definitely a skill to have, I think, to like guide people. I don't know if you guys agree, I guess, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Guiding people is a
absolutely.
skill, I assume. right?
Leadership is
Yeah,
not
exactly.
an easy thing to
Oh, for
fall
sure,
into,
definitely. Yeah,
let
that's- you
alone
gotta,
to.
like, you
People
gotta
think
have
it's
a
just
little
a
bit
at.
point. You do this, but no, it's not. You got to work with everyone,
Exactly,
and you got to
yeah.
make sure everyone's doing what they can, and make sure they're getting it done right. And then they come to you for help too.
Yeah.
So
And if you can't help them,
If
you
you
need to find somebody who can.
Yeah.
Because I've been in that spot. I know a couple of people have been in that spot. I mean, I gave a manufacturing presentation. I'm not a manufacturer. My background's in fabrication. So me coming into this, I have more knowledge than some of our students. So I'm going to be that middle resource before I send them to the students who have years of manufacturing experience or 2-hour machinist here on campus.
right.
Because I can't just send 30 students to this machinist who has a full-time job on campus already.
Oh, for sure, exactly.
And that's one of the struggles, one of the big things that a lot of people don't understand. This isn't all hard skills. On Baja, we don't just learn CAD. We don't just learn CNC manufacturing. We don't, just learn how to weld. There's a lot of leadership, communication, teamwork, system
Communication's a
integration.
big one.
Right, yeah, for
Big
sure.
one.
Talking to everyone, making sure, especially with like the integration of
Yeah.
all of the car
And you can be
parts
bad at
and-
communication. So if
And
you're
you-
bad at communication,
You
that
can
messes
be
up a lot. You
terrible.
can be
Oh,
terrible at the
yeah.
soft skills. So
Yeah.
that's an important thing to have.
Yeah.
Definitely. And that's the thing of something else that when I joined the team, I didn't realize that was going to go into it. Like, for example, I think before becoming an ergo lead, I didn't know about how the competitions went, like, before that, because I didn't go to those. I was just kind of a general team member. So yeah, when I learned about the design presentations, the sales presentation too, which I've never actually like know much about, but there's a sales presentation, right? There's a couple different things you have to be able to like present in like kind of the soft skills side of engineering. Didn't know about that. So like and then becoming ergo lead and then going to Arizona, giving my first design presentation. It was quite a nice experience actually. Like I think I'm pretty good at talking, and it was pretty nice to kind of get more practice with it, you know.
It was scary at first though, right?
Definitely, like
making the presentation,
for
somebody
sure.
else's work. You kind of got thrown into
like,
it.
We kind of like
we printed these posters. We
God,
had them up on easels. We were
literally.
like, what?
It's not my stuff.
Oh no.
It's not my stuff. I have to like mold it into kind of something I could talk about. But like it was fun though. I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed learning more about it and getting more comfortable with it. Definitely, it was a great thing.
Oh, of course. And even if you can't put it on a resume, you can talk about it in an interview.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And there's so much to get out of the program from, again, like our senior members. They're incredible resources, even for us older guys. So some of us with the hard skills, with the soft skills, they've been incredibly helpful for anybody.
Exactly.
I've had 3 interviews so far ever since joining Baja with internships, and all 3 are like, "Oh, you're on Baja. What does that mean? What do you do?" And then it's all we talk about throughout the interview. And
You're like, good question, buddy.
it's
I'm
a
gonna ramble
great
on
question.
for you right here.
I got
everything for you.
It's like, how much time do you have?
How much time do you got?
No, literally, exactly. Like I could ramble all day about it. Literally.
But of course, it's always the hard. It's like, oh yeah, I know how to do SolidWorks. I know how to do this and do that. But then while I'm in this, we're working as a team. I'm teaching people. I had to teach some kid how to hold a wrench, and like this in September.
It do be like that. No, literally, it do be like that. Yeah.
Like it's not like just hard, but it's also like I had to teach people like how to talk to each other. Like, oh, go talk to this person. Go talk to this about this, and like you're guiding them. But it is a lot. It's not just like put a car together. No, it's more than that.
Of course.
Oh, it absolutely
more.
is.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, I'm glad to hear that you guys have been enjoying the team and have taken a lot of stuff away from it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, exactly.
I appreciate you guys coming on the podcast. I hope you guys had fun doing this.
Oh, so
a
much
lot of fun, bro. It's always nice talking to you guys. You know.
Oh, yeah.
Ah, dude, this is a blast, right? You had a good time talking about your racing?
Yeah, of course. You could say
thank you for all the
Baja
knowledge,
blast.
Brandon.
Thank you,
'cause,
Brandon.
Oh,
we learned a lot
Baja
from you,
blast?
because I didn't know too much about like everything else. Good job on that, man.
Of course, and
learned
there's
a lot
always
today.
more to talk about too, because I was just like scratching the surface.
Yeah, we
barely
could tell.
scratched the surface.
I could literally talk for like an hour.
Barely scratched the surface of it all.
Yeah, of course. Hopefully, we have some more time. In the future, talk about more racing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Especially IndyCar. I would love to talk about IndyCar.
Yeah. Are
IndyCar
we
is
on
so
for
fun.
Friday still?
Well, today's Wednesday at 5 instead of Friday at 9.
I know, but I didn't know if we were doing it again.
No, absolutely. We're definitely going to be recording more. Hopefully, we'll be able to work around some people's schedules, get a couple more guests in. Hopefully, we'll be able to have our returning hosts back, like Joel. Love having him here, and then
Of course.
maybe you guys could rotate in with us
we'll see how it works.
some more
Exactly.
time.
Absolutely.
That'd be fantastic. So, a big thank you again to Shawn for operating the camera, for getting us in here, organizing all of
Shawn.
this.
Shout out to Shawn.
He
Thank you, bro.
edited and uploaded the first episode of the podcast. Is out, has been out by the time you're listening to this. It's available on Spotify as well as on our YouTube channel, which is Highlander Racing, NJIT Racing. Oh, cut that. It's also available on our
in
YouTube
post.
channel with a VOD. It is NJIT Racing. I know it now. I'm already subscribed. Don't worry.
Of course.
The premiere went out today, December 14th. I hope you guys have enjoyed that one and have enjoyed this one as well. Another big thank you to WJTB Radio here on our campus. They do incredible stuff. Their studio is absolutely gorgeous. Can I just point out this painting on the wall?
Oh, for sure.
Tell me that's
Remember Devin, I
not
was talking to you about it
classy.
earlier? We got
Tell
here and
me
I was like,
that's
yo,
not
it's a
classy.
nice painting.
With the frame too. Oh
Literally,
man,
yeah.
it is.
Frame.
This is
it's
a classy
so beautiful.
establishment.
Oh
It's a
yeah.
classy establishment.
Hopefully, it had a little cameo in the last episode.
Oh, don't worry about that.
Oh, I think we
Don't worry
talked
about the
about it
skeleton
once
in
during
the
the last episode. Yeah, the skeleton in the corner. Yo, Halloween's passed, guys.
It's been a minute, you know.
Boney Ramone's hanging out.
It'd be like that.
And then a final thank you to you guys for listening or watching, depending on what platform you guys are on. Please look out for the next episodes. They'll be coming out. You could get more from Brandon and I and meet a couple more of our guests. Without further ado, take it easy.
Thanks.
You stay classy, Newark.
Stay classy,
I
Newark,
love
New
y'all. It's all
Jersey.
All right, see you.